Great show. And here we are. Wow. I just got to sort this up. There we go.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Canadian Bro Show. All things Canadian with Pauly and Johnny. And believe it or not, this is episode 32. Episode 31 will be out in the next 24 hours. This is not live, we're recording. Johnny is in downtown Vancouver at the Vancouver Library. And the backdrop of our video is a photo I use in real estate that one of my fantastically talented photographers took. And it's a backdrop of Cypress Mountain, Grouse Mountain, the North Shore, Burrard Inlet, and W40, which is Woodwards, and the industrial area facing northwest and northeast. In the meantime, my name is Paul Bale. I'm the founder and host of the Canadian Bro Show. This is the first iteration. All things Canadian with Pauly and Johnny, as I just mentioned. This is our 32nd episode. We're very happy to be doing this, going on 8 months later. And before I introduce our co-host with the most, we have a second iteration called All Basketball from the Hoop Junkies, Pauly and Rolly. And if you look at the ticker, and you'll see all that information's there, all the updates. If you'd like to look at our YouTube channel, it's at the Canadian Bro Show. And I'd like to welcome the talent of this show, one of the most remarkable writers and nicest human beings I've ever met, friend of over 50 years, Mr. John Leister, co-host of the Canadian Bro Show. Johnny, how are things going in Vancouver? How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. I uploaded two more Lee Hacklin mysteries today. One is called The Wolf.
Before you do that, just explain to folks that...
Sure. So I'm a security guard by day. That's my bread and butter job. But I'm also a self-published author. I have over 100 short novels and short stories online, mostly about a private detective named Lee Hacklin, who is a fearless, charismatic hero. Most of my stories take place during the 1970s because I don't like writing about technology. I feel it's more interesting when a hero has to do the legwork rather than go online. So I have about 100 of these short stories online right now. Some of them are more like novel length. The early ones were longer. One is called The Wolf, the Lamb, and the Shepherd, which is about the firebombing of a synagogue. And the other one is called Scorched Earth Prophecy, which is about a kidnapped scientist. So I started doing this in 2019, and there are a lot more stories ahead. The one I'm working on right now is called Lee Hacklin, Private Investigator in Fire Walk with Lee. And I got the idea for this one after the passing of David Lynch recently, one of my favorite film directors and film writers. Of course,
one of our favorite.
Yeah, and as we talked about on a previous podcast, we grew up watching Twin Peaks, which is one of the most amazing TV shows ever. So that's the inspiration for this latest one. Everybody
we both started to interject. We both seen all his movies.
Oh yeah, huge fans. So that was my week, and I've just been cleaning my apartment like crazy and meeting with the building management. So far, so good. I guess we'll see. But if I have to find another place to live, that's fine. I've been down this road many times before. It's one of life's little hiccups. We just have to suck it up and move forward.
Well, that's very brave of you. For those that don't know, Vancouver to rent for what Johnny has and the location he has, his is very much under market, which is why they're getting rid of him. They're using the excuse. They're using an excuse for Johnny because this is what happens in real estate. This is what happens with the corporations that own a building. Johnny is paying anywhere from $600 to $700, maybe more, below market rent.
It's around 1,100. It's really cheap. It's dirt cheap for kids.
Right. And so the reason why they're getting rid of Johnny is not because he's not a great chap, is they're just trying to raise the rent to market value. And the only way to do that is to get rid of everyone. Because at the end of the day, if they don't sell the building, if it doesn't go into receivership or to another corporation, or they pass a vote at 80% of all of the rentals, anyways, it's convoluted. It's crazy. I hope you don't get kicked out. And if you do, I told you I got space in Kelowna.
Thank
and
you.
there's lots of security jobs in Kelowna.
Thank you. Well, I've been online and I found quite a few places in Vancouver, like rooms for rent that are under $1,000. So we'll see. Fingers crossed for the timing. Not the end of the world by any
Well,
means.
no, not at
Yeah,
all. And the positive side, due to the ineptitude of all levels of government in Canada and the attack on the real estate industry, actually, tenants are getting a break because rents have dropped up to 20%. And certainly more favorable areas like Vancouver or Toronto or Montreal or Calgary and so on. But it won't be a problem. Everything's going to work out fine for you, Johnny, because you deserve it. In the meantime, everybody, thank you for joining us. We're doing episode All Things Canadian from the Canadian Bro Show with Pauly and Johnny, episode 32. My
wow.
goodness.
Holy moly.
And we're going to talk about we were just trying to come up with some content, and Johnny and I like to do a segment on the Canadian Bro Show, which has proven to be quite rewarding and enjoyable, and people like it, and it's basically our take on the 21st century. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Of what Siskel and Ebert used to do, and that was review movies, films, and cinema. And this is the Canadian Bro Show, Pauly and Johnny, Cinema Review. And today we're going to focus on the greatest historical movies of all time. And this should be quite enjoyable.
We're going to make
Um,
history.
yeah, and so Johnny, before we start, what does that mean with you? The greatest historical movie? Is there any significance, or is it quite clear to you what
Well,
that?
these kinds of movies, obviously take us to a different time where people, put their lives on the line to create the kinds of worlds that we're living in today, where we have freedom and we have prosperity. And if it wasn't for the blood that was shed by our ancestors, the world would look like a very different place. Again, it's just stepping into another world. And the really cool part of a historical epic is that they're based on fact. It's based on reality. So I don't know. That's just the way I look at it.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's interesting. At the end of the day, historical, we're going to try to stay true to the title of the show. And at least my picks are all going to be historical films that have historical significance in our history of cinema, film, and movies. And because John and I, we rotate, and episode 31, which is not out, should be out tomorrow. Which is going to be a great episode as well. I believe it's my turn. So I'm going to start off from the very beginning of cinema, of photography, of anything before anybody even thought about it. I'm sure they thought about it, but this particular one is the very first. And the Lumiere brothers, August and Louis, stand as two of the most influential figures in the history of cinema. Their innovative work in the late 19th century laid the groundwork for the development of modern film. From their humble beginnings in Besançon, France, and that's my French accent, pardon-moi,
Très bien.
excusez-moi, merci beaucoup, um, to their commercial film screening in Paris. The brothers' extraordinary journey is a testament to the indelible mark on cinema and visual arts. So, just so you know, a lot of people might know, but this is going back in the late 1800s. And the origins in photography, because it was photography that started cinema. And the Lumiere family journey into the world of images began with Antoine Lumiere, the father of Auguste and Louis. Antoine was a successful painter who later transitioned into photography, drawn by its novelty and potential that he saw at the time. His business acumen, already being a businessman, led him to establish a small factory producing photographic plates in Lyon, France in 1881. This is going way back. It just shows you how recent cinema film has started and where it's been and where it's going. The venture thrived and became a leading manufacturer of photographic equipment and supplies, laying the foundation for the Lumiere brothers' groundbreaking contributions to cinema. Um, at the end of the day, Edison's influence, which is Edison's um, kinescope, is something that Edison developed in 1894, 3 years later, an early motion picture device that only allowed one viewer at a time. Of course, it was in its infancy, it was very raw and very basic. And then in 1895, a year later, The Lumiere brothers introduced to the world of cinematography this device, a combination of motion picture camera, projector, and printer, was a significant leap from Thomas Edison's amazing initial scope. The Lumiere brothers' invention was portable, produced high quality images, and had the capacity to project numerous views simultaneously. And essentially, their very first film, a lot of people don't know, is called Workers Leaving the Luminaire Factory. This I kid you not.
That's a
This
catchy title.
I know. Well, I mean, it's the first one. It's in its infancy. They came out. It was only 46 seconds
It's
long.
on the
The film,
nose.
and
Like Jason.
this 46-second film documented workers exiting the factory, an everyday scene that marked
Oh,
the dawn of a new era in visual storytelling. The
wow.
first commercial screening in December 28 of 1895, the Lumiere brothers held their first commercial screening at the Salon Indien de Grand Café in Paris, then screened 10 short films, one of which was the film that revolutionized them and put them onto the forefront of cinema. And that was the arrival of a train at
Mm,
La Cholet station. This film is often remembered for its legendary impact. The moving image of a train approaching the station reportedly had viewers ducking for cover.
yeah, yeah,
Because
I read about that too. That's pretty
yeah,
hilarious.
so that
Not
that would
even,
be
not
my
even
first.
3D.
That is, it's not the first, it's the second, but it is the most profound. And my wife brought it up, and she's from Rome, she's Italian, and when she was a kid saw this, and she did the exact same thing, thought the train was going to come right in the living room. So you're familiar with them, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, of
Yeah.
course. But you
Yeah.
told that
So I thought
story.
I'd start off with the history.
Now
We're, we're,
that is history with a capital H.
Thank you very much.
All right.
And yeah, so and John, this now we're going to talk about films, but this is
Okay.
really when my wife brought it up, I was like, that's just the perfect way to start this show.
Yeah. It's like a Genesis.
It really is. Yeah.
All right. Okay. My first movie is 2017's The Darkest Hour, directed by Joe Wright and written by Anthony McCartan. It stars Gary Oldman as Winston Churchill in his early days as Prime Minister of the United Kingdom during the Second World War and the May 1940 War Cabinet crisis. The title of the film refers to a phrase describing the early days of the war, widely attributed to Churchill. I saw this movie on a plane coming home from Australia, and it was such a breath of fresh air. It was the first movie I'd seen in probably 2 years that wasn't loaded with CG and people flying and explosions in outer space. You know, it was about an actual a historical event of World War II, and
Yeah.
Gary Oldman is absolutely mesmerizing as
Yeah.
Winston Churchill. This movie is an absolute must-see. I mean, it's very educational, but it's very uplifting and it's very funny at the same time. You really get to see every sides of this one. I think one of the most remarkable men who ever lived, Winston Churchill.
Absolutely. Certainly was. And without him, we would not have the free world that we had up until the most recent situation that's
If,
happening.
if he had died as a child, the world would be a very different place today. I feel. I think there'd be a lot of
Well,
SWAT.
the world is a very different place today because of the fiasco and clown show that's running just south of us right now. It's just absolutely shocking. But we'll stay true to form. And the next film I'm going to talk about, and in my choices, anyways, I'm going to do a very broad selection of genres that are all historical and have relevance to myself, my own subjective interpretation. But certainly, a lot of these films are Academy Award winning. They have incredible cinematography, great directing, great writing. They're just winners, and there's a reason why I choose them because try to beat them. If you can't beat them, join them. And this film is Kevin Costner's incredible, historic, epic western,
Hmm.
Dances with Wolves.
It's on my list.
Yeah, sorry about that, Johnny.
Right.
Honestly,
I have a lot more.
I saw this in the movie, and my mouth dropped open from the very beginning.
Yeah, it's great.
It is a 3 hour masterpiece. It's in
Hmm.
my top 20 films of all time. I've probably seen the film dozen times, maybe 2 dozen times. It's that good. The acting, and then I just want to say, one of my favorite actors has apparently him and his wife have passed under mysterious
Oh, yeah. Oh, I got it all.
circumstances. Is Mr. Gene Hackman, who Johnny and I
Oh,
love, who
gut
was in
wrenching.
this film. One of the many actors in this film, but Kevin Costner. They won an Academy Award for Best Director, Best Writing, Best Cinematography, Picture. It is an absolute masterpiece, and it's a film that I'm going to see again, and I'll see things I've never seen. But what an epic film! 11 out of 10.
Great choice. No, I agree with you 100%.
Thank you.
Okay, my next choice is The Right Stuff, a 1983 epic historical drama written and directed by Philip Kaufman, who was going to direct the first Star Trek movie of all things in the early 1970s, based on the 1979 book of the same name by Tom Wolfe. The film follows the Navy, Marine, and Air Force test pilots who were involved in aeronautical, easy for me to say, research at Edwards Air Force Base, California, as well as the Mercury 7. The 7 military pilots who were selected to be the astronauts for Project Mercury, the first human space flight by the United States. This film stars Sam Shepard as Chuck Yeager, Ed Harris.
By the way, Sam Shepard just passed. Rest in peace.
Oh no,
I'm
gosh!
sorry.
The last couple of weeks have just been brutal.
I mean, what a great writer, what a great actor, what a great director, what a great theater. Just
Yeah,
incredible.
it's
Anyways,
really
sorry.
heartbreaking.
Yeah,
Also, Fred Ward as
love Fred.
Grissom. He also passed away last year.
Wow.
Dennis Quaid and Barbara Hershey. And I mean, I saw this movie got re-released in theaters a couple of years ago. I went to see it, and it's just, and Jeff Goldblum is hilarious as a government stooge who's forever running and losing his mind. I mean, this movie is so uplifting, and
Yeah,
it's so funny, and it's dramatic, and it's exciting, it's thrilling. I mean, it just touches all the bases of what makes a great story, and of course, based on true life events. Hence our topic. So that's my next choice, The Right Stuff. A must see, absolute must see. Veronica Cartwright is also in this film. She's great.
yeah, great movie. Really good choice. When I was doing my research, I saw it and I was like, I
Morocco.
thought, yeah. No, I
Take
mean,
it.
I'm running. I'll never run out of gambling meccas in this world, but I
Apparently.
don't gamble anyways. I'm just joking, everyone.
Oh,
I'm
really
just
now.
because Johnny and I, we've known each other over 5 decades, and we almost know what we're gonna say for the most part if John's paying attention. Um,
Occasionally I do. What did she say? What?
yeah, except well, it's not because you're not paying attention. John's earplugs or earphones or ears sometimes are not really they're
All of the
they're
above.
yeah, a little bit of anyway.
I'm
It's
a
all
fly
good. We
master.
Johnny's here. We love him. He can hear us, and now I can finally see his face. The next one I've talked about twice in previous Pauly and Johnny, all things Canadian. Pauly
Hey.
and Johnny cinema review, and this film is Lawrence of Arabia.
Mm,
Because it's one of my top 20 films, and Peter O'Toole is my favorite actor of all time when I was growing up. And this film here blew my mind as a young man, and I didn't know anything about the history, about the Turks, about anything. And Peter Peter O'Toole is just such an extraordinary actor. Lawrence of Arabia is the name of the film. Is a 1962 epic biographical adventure drama based on the life of T.E. Lawrence and his 1926 book, Seven Pillars of Wisdom. Due to his knowledge of the native Bedouin tribes, British Lieutenant T.H. Lawrence Peter O'Toole was sent to Arabia to find Prince Faisal, the amazingly talented Alec Guinness, and serve as a liaison between the Arabs and the British in their fight against the Turks, with the aid of a native Sharif Ali, the incredible Omar Sharif. Lawrence rebels against the orders of his superior officer and strikes out in a daring camel journey across the harsh desert to attack a well guarded Turkish port. Director David Lean, Academy Award for Best Picture, and so much more.
yeah.
It is the director's cut's almost 4 hours, but if you can
Yeah.
get through the original one, the cinematography, Peter O'Toole's eyes are actually that blue, and he's extraordinary. It's 11 out of 10 masterpiece.
Yeah, I've seen the extended version. I saw it at the Park Theater, and it is 4 hours long, but I wasn't bored for a second. It
No,
really
not at all, not at
is.
all. And the Park Theater, what a great little theater, eh?
I know. I know. Great choice. Okay, my
Thank
next
you.
choice is. Sorry, are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. My next choice is Apocalypto, a 2006 epic historical action adventure film produced and directed by none other than Mel Gibson, Martin Rings for Lethal Weapon, who co-wrote the screenplay with Farhad Safina. The film features a cast of indigenous and Mexican actors. Set in Yucatan around the year 1502, Apocalypto portrays the hero's journey of a young man named Jaguar Pa. Now that's a manly name. A late Mesoamerican hunter and his fellow tribesmen who were captured by an invading force. After a raid on their village, they are brought on a perilous journey to a Mayan city for human sacrifice at a time when the Mayan civilization is in decline. Wow, I mean, I saw this movie in the theater back in the day, and this is one of those movies where the audience was like gasping every 10 minutes because it's just so relentlessly exciting and terrifying and thrilling. I mean, Mel Gibson really is a very underrated director. He should direct more movies. I don't know what he's done since Braveheart. I guess he's done a few. I guess Passion of the Christ was another one which I haven't seen.
No,
Have you
he's
seen?
done.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah, I'm not a big fan, but the I've seen all of his smaller art films that he's done because when he got ostracized from Hollywood there briefly for saying anti-Semitic things
very.
and being drunk and kicking his 30-year-old. Anyways, I love him, and I've
Yeah,
seen
and that,
all.
he was arrested the night before Apocalypto was released in theaters.
Yeah,
Talk
of course, of
bad
course.
timing.
Well, it's a good way to get the folks out there and get the press.
Yeah.
Great film, and Mel, the guy's a legend.
And
Love it.
he did apologize. I mean, just saying, just for the record.
Yeah, when he sobered up and
Obviously
had
took
3 packs of
responsibility.
smokes and
Yeah,
big coffee, and realized that when he snapped, he had actually blacked out, doesn't remember anything.
yeah. Oh well.
Anyways,
Yeah.
but
So
he's still going strong. He's still
yeah.
going strong. And speaking of going strong, Martin Scorsese, you know, everything this guy touches, pretty much everything from the
Mm,
beginning to his most recent film is extraordinary. This particular one, they took it to such an unbelievable reality that the set design was New York City before it was New York in the 1860s,
mm.
before it even became New York. And this is called Gangs of New York. And it is the best historical account, in my opinion, of Gangs of New York. Is a 2002 American epic historical drama directed by, of course, the legend Martin Scorsese and written by Jay Cox, Steven Zalian, and Kenneth Lonergan. Amsterdam Valen, Leonardo DiCaprio, is a young Irish immigrant released from prison. He returns to the 5 Points, which is Manhattan, or the boroughs,
Mm.
which is hasn't been mentioned or named yet, seeking revenge against his father's killer, William Cutting, an award-winning. He won an Academy Award for Best Actor. Daniel Day-Lewis, one of the best actors working in film, if he is actually still working, a
Yeah, that's
powerful, a
really, I think.
powerful anti-immigrant gang leader who is absolutely despicable, devious, and he'll kill anybody that gets in his way. He knows that revenge can, this is DiCaprio, he knows that revenge can only be attained by infiltrating Cutter's inner circle, one of the 5 Points gangs, because they're all run by gangs. There's no police, there's no government, it's all gangs.
Right.
Yes, there's British military, yes, there's French, but it's basically gangs.
It
Kind of
really
like
is.
what it is now. And he knows that Amsterdam's journey becomes a fight for personal survival to find a place for the Irish people in 1860s New York. Honestly, if you've not seen this film, Daniel Day-Lewis is incredible. Leonardo DiCaprio, Pumpkinhead, is incredible. Cameron Diaz, Liam Neeson, Jim
Oh yeah,
Broadbent,
I forgot about him.
Stephen Graham, and there's a bunch more. It
Mm.
is absolutely incredible. It's very violent. And again, it showcases a history that nobody has been able to replicate. And I think it's a masterpiece, and it's
Yeah,
Academy Award winning film. If you
right
haven't
on.
seen it, go see it.
Great flick.
Thank you.
Okay, my next choice is Judgment at Nuremberg.
Ah,
Let's see now. 1959. I'm
yes.
just scrolling on my phone right here. Produced by Stanley Kramer, directed by Stanley Kramer, written by Abby Mann, stars Spencer Tracy, Burt Lancaster, Richard Woodmark, Maximilian Schell, Werner Klemperer, whom you may remember from Hogan's Heroes, Marlena Dietrich, Judy Garland, and Canadian William Shatner, Evan Garmy Clift.
That's awesome.
Spock, Spock, I need you, Spock. The master of the dramatic pauses. Set
Well,
in
if you're going to do him, you got to do the dramatic pauses. You can't be blowing by it too quick.
True enough. Set in Nuremberg, West Germany, the film depicts a fictionalized version with fictional characters of the judge's trial of 1947, one of the 12 Nuremberg military tribunals conducted under the auspices of the U.S. military in the aftermath of World War II. This is a really compelling movie. I watched it on VHS. I probably got it at Videomatica back in the day and stayed up all night watching it. It's a very long film, but absolutely worth watching and kind of gut wrenching at the same too, because you just see a man on trial, a man who've given murderous orders, obeyed murderous orders, and you see them squirm and twitch and try to justify their acts of evil. And it's just one of the most compelling studies of human nature that I've ever seen. The darkest aspects of human nature, I want to say.
Absolutely, Johnny, and absolutely pivotal in the history and accountability of this
Exactly.
evil.
Right.
And by saying that, I'll go to my next one, and I'm going to talk about Steven Spielberg's Schindler's List.
Oh, that's on my list too.
Um, and because of your mention, I will just carry on with Schindler's List because a lot of
Right.
people don't talk about it. And it is an absolute masterpiece. It's Academy Award winning and let's face it, it is horrific. It
Hmm.
is not the type of film where it's all sunshine and a jasmine on a warm spring day and love story. And there's many love stories, and they're all tragic. And this is kind of what's happening with in in Russia right now. It seems like what's happening in Russia is the 21st century version of what happened in the early Second World War in 1938-39 when Hitler took over and basically tried to dominate and take over the entire world by murdering everybody. It's
Yeah.
just mayhem, but it goes deeper than that. It is truly a tragic film and very difficult to watch at times, but absolutely important for history and
Yeah.
the best historical account. And there's been hundreds. Believe me, this genre has been. But this one is stands at number one in my opinion, and
Yeah.
to this day it haunts me.
Yeah.
Some
I
of
mean,
the
I know a lot of people who didn't want to see it back then. It's like, no, no, you should watch it. I mean, it is very devastating, but it's very uplifting at the same time.
yeah,
And to give Spielberg all the credit he deserves, there are little moments of levity in the film, like
yes,
when he's hiring secretaries, and you see one, and she's not very attractive in his mind's eye, but she can type 10,000 words a minute, and another, and then like the hottest one, the sexiest candidate for the job of secretary, she's like typing with two fingers, and he's like, you're hired. So I mean, there are. You got the job. See it tonight, babe. Yeah, after work. So there are little moments of humor in the film, and again, it's about the evil. I mean, Ray Fiennes as Eamon Goeth. I mean, wow,
another incredible actor.
just like the worst human being that could ever exist, and he played that character so chillingly well. And his friendship, well, quote unquote friendship with Oscar Schindler, for me, is one of the most fascinating.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
like the way that he looks up to Schindler. He's like, you never lose control. You're
No,
always in control of your
just a
job.
riveting performance. By the way, he won the best actor for that film as well.
Yeah. No, Schindler's List is an absolute must see,
Yeah.
and is also on my list. Okay, I'm going to go to 1997's Titanic, written
Ah,
and directed by fellow Canadian James Cameron. Incorporating both historical and fictionalized aspects, it is based on accounts of the sinking of the RMS Titanic in 1912. Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet star as members of different social classes. The oldest story in the world, the poor boy falls in love with the rich girl who's engaged to the rich jerk. And since I became a self-published author, a lot of people, I've heard this many times. I want to do what you're doing. I want to write, but I don't have any original ideas. There's nothing original about Titanic other than the historical backdrop, and it doesn't take away anything from the movie's greatness. I also learned a lot watching this movie. I didn't know that the ship split in half before
yeah.
it sank, and that was new information. And
Do,
again,
do, you, do you know why it split in half before it actually sunk? Because there was a fire in the ship before it split.
right,
In
right,
in the coal, the
yeah,
all the reserve coals caught fire.
right, right.
Anyways, and then of course when it hit the iceberg,
Yeah, I mean this is one of those 3 hour movies that is not boring to me anyway for
yeah,
for 1 second. Billy Zane, Kathy Bates, Francis Fisher, Bernard Hill, Jonathan Hyde, Dan Ishii, David Warner, oily and menacing as ever as Billy Zane's bodyguard, and of course the always hilarious and tragically passed away Bill Paxton.
Yes.
This movie absolutely deserved to win Best Picture. And as we talked about in another podcast, James Cameron took a lot of flack for saying that he was king of the world when he won the Oscar for Best Director. He's just
Yeah.
quoting his own movie. You know what? I feel that if you have a genuine pride in what you've accomplished, let it out. Share it with the world. And if people are going to throw
Yeah.
stones,
Just
so
don't
what?
say that phrase.
Yeah. So anyway, I've seen this movie many times, and I
Yeah.
could see myself watching it again before I die.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those beautiful love stories ever made.
It
And
really is, and it's James Cameron. We both love him. It was grand. It was well done. Big budget, scary, sad, great love story. Love it.
right, and
Tragic.
great soundtrack by James Horner, one of my
Yeah,
favorite.
yeah, no. The score, as they say in film, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, well, it's wonderful. I mean, this series, this episode we're doing is there's so much historical, and when you break it down, how it impacts history, and this one certainly is not any different. This is also directed by our friend Mel Gibson, and it is a film that you brought out, I believe, in one of our earlier episodes in a different genre,
Mm.
and it's called Braveheart.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite.
And it was a film. Braveheart is a 1995 American epic historical drama film directed and produced and starred by Mel Gibson, who portrays Scottish warrior William Wallace.
Mm.
And it's William Wallace is the medieval Scottish patriot who is spurned into revolt against the English when his love of his life is slaughtered, leading his army into battles that become a war. His advance into England threatens King Edward's the first throne before he is captured and executed, of course, but not before becoming the symbol
Mm.
of free Scotland. Academy Award for Best Picture. Really unbelievable. Mel Gibson is incredible in this. The action scenes are so real. It's
Yeah,
violent. The set design's incredible. They used real castles, no CGI,
yeah,
thousands and
yeah.
thousands. Sophie Marceau, very easy in the eyes.
Yes.
Catherine McCormick, Angus McFadden, Patrick McGowan.
Mm.
Huh? Remember our old favorite show from?
Prisoner.
Yes.
I am not a number. I am a free man. Thank you.
I love it. And then Brendan Gleeson, amongst many others. This film is, I've seen it a dozen times. It is fantastic. I was hoping that Mel Gibson would release maybe a follow up, but when everybody
Sequel.
gets whacked.
There was a sequel called, I haven't seen it, but it's called
Yeah.
Robert the Bruce,
Yes.
played by Angus McFadden. And I just
Yes.
became aware of this movie quite
Yeah.
recently.
Well,
Has it?
I tried to watch one of the versions and it was so dry and so
Oh,
slow. I started to nod off. I was like, "Good Lord, man!" I mean, it was more of a. Anyways, Braveheart's an incredible film, and it's historic. And as you can see, we're going right across the boundaries of history here. So,
yeah.
Johnny, who do you got next?
Okay, I'm going to go with 1965, the great year in the history of the world, because that's year you and I were born. Dr. Zhivago, another
Ah,
famous epic, screenplay by Robert Bolt, based on the 1957 novel by Boris Pasternak. The story is set in Russia during World War I and the Russian Civil War. The film stars, speaking of Russia, segue, Omar Sharif in the title role as Yuri Zhivago, a married physician and poet whose life is altered by the Russian Revolution and subsequent civil war. Julia Christie as his lover, Laura. I mean, I saw this movie when I was a boy. I only remember it vaguely, but I added to the list because I just remember what a huge impact on me. I'll never forget the scene where he comes home. It's during the revolution, and there's like 50 people that he's never seen before, squatters, living in his house. And it's like, oh no, this is communism. You have to accept us. It's the law. And I'm like, that kind of shaped my political thinking. Seeing that, it's like, no, I do not want to live in that kind of society. No, thank you.
yeah. No, I mean, great one. This is so fun because there isn't a bad pick in a episode like this, and we try not to. And I'm going to go back to the Second World War in my next film, and I haven't brought it up in any of the other, you know, genres that were close to war films and Second World War, Vietnam, and action, violent, whatever. This one here is really captured my imagination. Um, it's called Patton,
Oh yeah.
and Patton Patton is a 1970 American epic biographical war film about U.S. legendary General George S. Patton during the Second World War. It stars the Oscar winning performance, George C. Scott, as Patton. And it is unbelievable. The biography, the controversial World War II hero General George S. Patton. The film covers his wartime activities and accomplishments, beginning with his entry into Africa to fight Rommel and the Battle of the Bulge, big, huge, massive tank battle that was integral in the outcome of the Second World War. Um, and the campaign ending his removal from command after his outspoken criticism of U.S. post war military strategy. Director Franklin J. Schaffner. And this film is blew my mind. I saw it in the Stanley Theater, of course, the legendary Stanley Theater. If you're going to see anything big, grand, loud, perfect film to see it. And it really, a lot of people don't talk about it. It is
Yeah.
one of the best war films ever made, certainly
Yeah.
Second World War, and his performance is iconoclastic. It's
Yeah, I love the
incredible.
scene where he's being strafed by a Luftwaffe jet, and he's not even flinching. He's standing
Yeah,
there, and he's actually shooting at it as
he's firing from his
yeah,
silver 45 Colt,
exactly.
and he's emptying the clip. I think you get 11 in that.
An unbelievably fearless man
Yeah,
who's
yeah.
definitely true to himself. He believed in reincarnation too, apparently.
Yeah, it's interesting. And you know, when you mentioned Churchill earlier, I would say he's our a very American version of Churchill
Oh, good
from the
call.
UK.
Yeah,
And that really sort of encapsulates why I chose it because of what you brought up earlier. So nice one,
right,
thank you.
right. One's a warrior of the body, and the other was a warrior of the mind.
Beautiful, Johnny.
Okay, thank you. Okay, my next choice is not based on actual history, but it's a movie called The Man Who Would Be King, 1975, from Rudyard Kipling's 1988 novel, adapted and directed by John Huston, starring the legendary Sean Connery and Michael Caine. What a team. The film follows two rogue ex soldiers, former non commissioned officers in the British Army, who set off from late 19th century British India in search of adventure and end up in faraway Kafiristan, which I believe is a fictional country, where one is taken for a god and made their king. This is just a really fun, action-packed movie with a lot of male camaraderie and bonding and esprit de corps. And it also stars fellow Canadian, the late great Christopher Plummer. Great movie, The Man Who Would Be King.
Man, I met Christopher Plummer. What a gentleman, larger than life. Just a well meticulously dressed, very pleasant. It just you could tell every day he woke up to present himself onto the world, and the world was a better place when he did. Fantastic choice.
Great actor.
This is really good. Oh,
Yeah,
and Canadian
yes.
too, by the
There you
way.
go. Go Canada.
Yes. Well, you know, it's all things Canadian, although it's not all things Canadian, but we try to focus
Well,
on Canadian pop culture and history as
our
best
home
we
and native
can.
land.
Yeah, we do it all the time, and there and it's fun to be able to talk about all the talent that comes out of Canada. Is you know, it is the second largest country in the world, so you think there's only 40 million people, of course, only, but you know, my next film, and this is transcending, quite literally, to a spiritual level of history, and only one person could do it. Well, many tried and many did, but not to this historical level. And the movie is called Gandhi.
Oh, nice. Good movie.
1982. And this film honestly is not the type of film. When I'm a young man in 1982, I was 17 years old. I had my mind elsewhere, let's say. I was more interested in playing basketball and girls than anything else, not necessarily in that order.
Right.
Although, you know, when I watched this film and I got through it, it was a little over 3 hours. It blew my mind
Yeah.
how somebody could transcend what people say is religion. It's not just religion, it's a spiritual, it's a lifestyle. His religion was love.
Mm.
And so it's not a religion, or it's love. What's your religion? It's love. And Ben Kingsley won the Academy Award for Best Director. The director is one of my favorite, um, Richard Attenborough. They won for best costume design. They won for cinematography, set design, script. I mean, it was just unbelievable film. And Ben Kingsley just hits it out of the park.
Yeah.
And he's an incredible actor, and he's done some fantastic stuff, but this was really what put him in the map at a later stage of his life. He'd been
Yeah.
acting for decades before that on theater and everything. Candice Bergen, no longer with us, was a phenomenal. Roshan Seth, again, Daniel Day-Lewis, incredible. The Indian actor, the great Indian actor Amresh Puri, and it's 11 out of 10. It's not everybody's cup of tea, but if you want to watch an extraordinary human being and his journey and his life, wow,
Yeah. It's a great biography. No, I've seen.
really, really
Yeah.
incredible.
Okay. I have two more. My next choice is The Little Scene, 2019's Midway, which is directed by the legendary disaster porn maker Roland Emmerich. This man just loves watching cities and planets blow up. Written by Wes Took,
Did you just say porn maker?
disaster porn,
Oh,
destruction porn.
good lord! I was like, this is a family show, bro.
It's okay to say that. The film
Okay,
covers the first 6 months in the Pacific theater of World War II, from the attack on Pearl Harbor to the titular Battle of Midway. The film stars Ed Skrein, sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name, Patrick Wilson, Luke Evans, Aaron Eckhart, one of my favorite actors, Nick
yeah,
Jonas, Mandy Moore, once again, Dennis Quaid, and Woody Harrelson. I saw this movie in the theater when it came out. It's epic, it's action packed, it's rah rah, it's super patriotic, and the men are men, and there's no political correctness in this movie. It's just about heroism.
yeah,
And I have not seen the original, the 1975 version, but that's my next pick, Midway.
yeah. I have. I've seen the 70. I saw it in the on Broadway, the same theater at the in South Granville there, the Stanley,
Mm,
and the speakers in the dome. I was sitting right in the front row. It was like the planes were in the theater, unloading machine gun fire from their wings. I was ducking under the seat. I was using popcorn in the air. I was so into it. It was incredible. But this
right.
one was actually really, really well done. Of course, it got a lot of CGI. The original one didn't have it, but
Yeah.
it's absolutely a historical film and really, really well done. I enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah, me
Uh,
too.
my next one is going back to one of the most historic figures in ever in human mankind, and I will go back to. I wouldn't say he's one of my favorite directors, but I do like most of his stuff. And Spike Lee managed to very easily coerce the lead actor to be Malcolm X,
Mm,
and incredible film. It's a biographical epic of the controversial and influential black nationalist leader from his early life and career as a small time gangster all the way to, well, anyways, a tribute to the controversial black activist and leader of the struggle for black liberation. To this day, it still continues. He hit bottom during his imprisonment in the 50s. He became a black Muslim and then the leader in the Nation of Islam. His assassination in 1965 left a legacy of self determination and racial pride. And again, Academy Award winner for Best Actor in Leading Role. My favorite actor, my favorite all round actor that's alive, is Denzel Washington. Spike Lee did an incredible job, probably his best film. Angela Bassett is eternally beautiful, was excellent. Delroy Lindo, Albert Hall, Teresa Randall. This film is 11 out of 10. It's a masterpiece. It's incredible. And for those that don't know anything about the Black movement and or Denzel Washington, just epitomizes. He turns into Malcolm X right
mm.
in front of us. It's a captivating film.
No, I haven't seen it, but I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Excuse me.
Bless you. Okay, I have one more on my list and then I'm done. Actually, I'm just winging this one right now, a kind of a bonus one for me.
Wing
Uh,
it. We
nine,
don't we don't wing in our show.
no, everything's meticulously planned out. Every
No, not
little
really.
detail mapped out in advance with cards on blackboards and so forth. Okay, here we go. 1993's Remains of the Day, based on the 1989 novel by Kazuo Ishiguro. The film was directed by James Ivory. It stars Anthony Hopkins as lifetime butler James Stevens and Emma Thompson as Miss Kenton. Christopher Reeve, the late great Christopher Reeve, one of my favorite actors, Hugh Grant, and Lena Headey. This is a movie that I could really relate to because basically it's about a man who is got a lot going on in his head. He's a very good guy, but he's stuck. He's stuck in this role of a butler, and his father was a butler, and he carried on the legacy. And spoiler warning, he dies a butler. But you can see throughout the film that he has a passion to do other things with his life. And meanwhile, Emma Thompson as Miss Kenton is madly in love with this guy. I mean, she's giving him like the most overt signals that a woman could give a man that she's interested in him, and he's not responding. He's like a cold fish, but clearly he's in love with her. And I've read the book, and
Or he is not interested in women.
well, I that is a possibility. I mean, because it depends on the interpretation. But I have read the book, and the last chapter, he actually does. He admits that his heart was breaking because he realizes that the last time he sees her is going to be the last time because she's off to get married. This is a super tragic story. It's very haunting, but it also has a great moral, which is basically we really have to get off our cans sometimes and will ourselves to do what we really want to do with our lives, not what other people want to do with his lives. And I noticed watching this movie that his character Stevens, he spends a lot of his free time reading. So my hallucinations is what he really wanted to do was be a writer. He wanted to be a writer, but he was just stuck. And maybe it's kind of a British like caste system thing, part of their culture back in the day. Like this is what you are, and this is what you're going to be, and never mind your dreams, never mind your aspirations. This is this box that society has put you in, and Anthony Hopkins is so good. I mean, he's always great,
Yeah,
but
he's incredible.
your heart breaks for this guy because you can see in his performance that he really wants more out of life. He
Yeah.
has the desire, but he doesn't have the will. And it's just another great movie about human nature, how we can get stuck into the routines of our lives because they're comfortable. And I could relate to this character 100%. I was watching this movie and I was saying, that's me up there on the screen. This is a guy who wants more out of life, but he's in this like the phantom zone or the matrix of
No,
the
it's when you were lying on your beat up couch from the 50s with holes all over it, with
Salvation Army.
a 2 day old bucket of KFC cold, and you're approaching 300,
Mm,
and probably
you
with
were
six,
a
seven, eight
while.
beers in you,
Mhm.
and this is before that the yellow sunshine and light of God came into
Thank
your
you.
life and saved you.
Asking you for
So
something better late than never.
oh hell yeah, man, hell
Have you seen
yeah,
this movie, Remains of the Day?
yes,
It's so beautiful. It's very
yeah,
sad, but it's very
yeah.
touching too.
I've seen everything, Johnny, and what I haven't seen is there's probably a good reason, but I loved it, and I love all kinds of movies, and this one I wanted to go to a foreign film to talk about foreign films and grandiose ones of huge budgets that were Academy Award winning. This one was Academy Award for Best Picture, choreographic, set design, score. I mean, it's larger than life. The director was Bernardo Bertolucci, so it was an Italian finance film, and it's called The Last Emperor.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
this sweeping account of the life of Puyi, John Leone, and Lone, he did an incredible job. The last emperor of China follows the leader's tumultuous reign after being captured by the Red Army as a war criminal in 1950. Puyi recalls his childhood from prison. He remembers his lavish youth in the Forbidden City, where he was afforded every possible luxury, but unfortunately sheltered from the outside world and complex political situations that surround him. As a revolution sweeps through China, the world of Puyi is dramatically upended. This film is a feast for the senses. It is 100% close to, if not the actual true story. And Bernardo Bertolucci wanted to make sure that it stood the test of time and it was correct, because it was also a Chinese financed, even though it was an Italian director, Italian finance, but it's a massive production. And at the time was the most expensive film in the world in cinema
Mm.
history. And it's really, you need to just sit back and if you want to kill 3.5 hours, it is just epic,
Yeah.
incredibly beautiful film, a great love story. It just has everything. It has everything, and it's a true historical account.
And if I'm not mistaken, in his later years, he was, for whatever reason, he was actually allowed to leave the kingdom, and he became a gardener. He died a very humble man, apparently.
Well, what a great way to go, full circle. And Joan Chen and Peter O'Toole were also in this. It's just an incredible film, really enjoyable. You
That's
said you have
great.
one more, Johnny?
No, that was my last one.
Really?
Yep, I'm done.
Okay, I was going to go with one more,
Okay.
but if you're done, maybe I'm just thinking this one really needs to be talked about, right?
Okay, let's hear it. Bring it on. I'm excited.
Well, I've actually got three more because I wasn't sure how many you're going to take, and I always try to have a few extra just in case we do the same movie. And I think we did a couple,
Hmm.
and a few of these I've already talked about in past episodes. And are they really historical? Yeah, they're all historical, but are they good? Is it worth bringing up? And I'm just going to go down my list. And honestly, I've seen everything here except that one. That one I don't know if it's really true historic. Certainly not that one. Um, but you know what? Because I'm not coming up with anything that is capturing my imagination, I was going to talk about Zulu, but it's
Oh,
just
haven't seen that one. So, my
with
God, Michael Caine.
yeah, yeah. Oh, it's incredible. It really, really incredible. Um, yeah, no, no, no. I mean, there's so many good ones, right? But there's so many dodgy ones as well
Mm,
that really don't belong in these lists.
mm.
And I mean, your Titanic one is number 40 on this list, so it's like, and Patton's 42. So I'm like, what are you guys doing? But anyways, we're gonna wrap it up. That was fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us. This is the Canadian Bro Show, the first iteration with Pauly and Johnny, all things Canadian, and we've this is our 32nd episode. Our 31st episode is going to be coming out in the next 24 hours or so. Johnny and I like to have one in the can in case technical difficulties. I've been known to have the occasional technical difficulties. Not proud to
What
say, but
little curveballs.
it's yeah. You just got to learn. In the meantime, thank you very much for joining us in the second iteration. Um, uh, all basketball from the Hoop Junkies, Pauly and Rolly. We just finished episode 17, which is out right now, and at the Canadian Bro Show on YouTube. If you're interested and you enjoy this type of Johnny and I and the first iteration, all things Canadian, I'd like to do Pauly and Johnny's cinema review.
Mm.
And this was one, and I think one of our better ones, and very enjoyable. In the
That was fun.
meantime, if you enjoy, yeah, thank you, Johnny, and please subscribe, like, the usual thing.
Please love us.
um, Notify,
We love you.
share, comment, or not. In the meantime, we do an episode every week, and we just wanted to say from the bottom of our hearts, thank you kindly for joining us, and we
Thank
look forward to hearing from you and having you enjoy the content. And if you enjoy the content, just let us know. We really
you.
appreciate it. On behalf of Johnny and I, my name is Paul Bale. I'm the founder and host of the Canadian Bro Show. Thanks again for joining us. This will be live in the next few days, and we look forward to continue to bring further content. Johnny, anything else you want to share from Vancouver? I'm in Kelowna.
Well, I got this at the library today. It looks like it's my cup of tea. It's called Gauntlet by Richard Aaron. It's a military thriller in the vein of The Hunt for Red October. And if we have time, I do have a pun. We didn't do one last week.
Well, no, you could do your pun because I cut you off, so I apologize
Okay.
for that.
Okay.
Because his puns. If he's a writer, if he was writing his own puns, maybe I wouldn't be so difficult on him. But
Okay, here we go. I picked this one especially for you, Paul. Three golf clubs went into a bar. The putter asked for a beer. The wedge ordered tequila. The third said nothing for me. I'm the driver. Thank you.
That's excellent.
Thank you very much.
That's your best one.
Thank you, Internet.
Oh, that's awesome. I love golf too. I play golf. It's it's the only sport I could play these days at 60 years old. I'm like, thank God I can do something. I can swim.
There you
I can
go.
ride my bike. I can
Yeah,
walk.
gotta keep our bodies moving, blood
Yeah.
circulation.
And so this is usually at the end of our show we like to talk about the book we're reading. And I'm reading, this will be the third time I'm reading this because I need to read books like this a little bit more often. Johnny, who do you got today?
Oh, I already did my book. It's called Gauntlet by Richard Aaron. I just got this at the library today. It looks to be in the vein of The Hunt for Red October, kind of a Tom Clancy type of story. I like these
Cool.
kind of military
Yeah.
based stories with lots of political intrigue
Right.
and chicanery.
Yeah, nice. And I don't normally buy books like this, but this is given to me as a gift. And I've read this numerous times. Stephen R. Covey. And it's the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Powerful Lessons in Personal Change. And all of us in our life have needed to work on powerful lessons in personal change, myself included. And that's why I've read this will be my fourth time, but I actually go back in various chapters that I'm trying to work on aspects of my real estate career, perhaps, or trying to come up with better content, or trying to be a better husband or a better friend, and trying to be a kinder, more gentler human being, because there's so much pain and suffering in this world and madness that at the end of the day, just be kind out there. Let's be teammates for life. Do something nice for someone. Don't expect it. Just be kind. And Johnny and I are kind, and we're really happy and want to thank you all for joining and supporting our show. In the meantime, we're going to be signing off. We'll see you next time, Johnny. It was a pleasure. Great show. And
Likewise, always, my
we
brother.
look forward to many, many more shows in the future. Take care, everyone. We're
Thank you.
signing off.
Cheers. Thanks for watching.